Welcome, everybody, to the Price Report. Every single Wednesday night, we bring you someone from around the blockchain that has an amazing story, that dedicates their life to cryptocurrency, and that I consider a crypto lifer. This person's been on the show before, but I always want to kind of keep them relevant. He's a friend of mine. I don't want him going too far, man. When he hits that Grammy, I want to be on stage or at least kind of at the after party. You know what I mean? So shout out to my man, Cassius Cuvée, man. How you been? Where you've been traveling to? How you feeling today? I've seen you all around already. I think you were in Vegas again or somewhere in California, right? Recently. How you been, man? How's your day going?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be on the Price Report, man. Crypto lifer, top TA guy in the game, man. Every single day without fail. Coming up on 1,000 episodes. Congratulations. Appreciate being on, brother.
Yeah, man. I try to live by example, right? Like you can say all you want, but when you do, that's when people feel you, right? So talk is cheap.
100%.
My dad always said actions speak louder than words. Just keep showing up and hitting it hard, man. I really appreciate you recognizing that. That means the world to me, man. That's why I love you, bro. Real, recognize real, day one, you know?
For sure, man. And we had a great time in Miami, which is the last time I was on. After that, I just got back from Denver at Rare Evo.
Nice.
And so I performed there. I performed on stage, all my crypto songs, my crypto brethren, you know what I'm saying? And so basically, if you guys don't know, I had a song called No Discussion where I made an AI music video. It's pinned to the top of my Twitter. I'm at Cassius Cuvée. So it was about, I made it before I went to Rare Evo because I'm kind of like, I was promoting the event as well as talking about it. But I have Ben Armstrong on the hook of that song saying you are low IQ. So basically the song's about haters and trolls and how we don't even need, they get no discussion. You know what I'm saying? But the beat is a banger. I performed it live. It was a great, fun show out there on, check my social media, Instagram and whatnot, and you'll see a couple clips of the performance and a kind of recap of the event, as well as the AI video. You got to see the AI music video.
You got to get like Charles Critt walking or something.
I got Charles Hoskinson on there. I seen Hoskinson walking in. I got to talk to him.
Oh, yeah, walking in. I got to talk to him. I saw the song. The new images, that new AI thing, that thing is great, man. I saw it, caught my eye the other day on the Twitter feed. I was like, what is he doing with this? This is cool. I was like, I want to start doing these things. These are cool. But great.
Yeah, I like combining a bunch of different cool stuff into one because I know how to edit videos, so I don't just press play on the AI. I got like a dozen of them in there, and I'm like weaving them together.
It was fire, bro. Like you blew my mind. Like it was really cool.
Thanks.
So topics that I want to kind of bring up today, a little bit of that affect business and Bitcoin is BRICS, right? Today they're coming out with some weird new payment settlement. Like they're not.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're not going to use the yen. They're going to use like a BRICS settlement. What is your take on the US dollar? Like, do you like? Some people say, hey, the dollar's going to get stronger. Actually, they're going to put it in more countries, and it's actually going to grow and get stronger. I mean, Bitcoin could also grow too. But what's your take on that? Are we going all the way to the tubes? Is big?
Okay.
Zero, or, what's your take on that?
Well, when it comes to currency, everything is relative, right? So like the price of Bitcoin, what we measure it in is relative to the United States dollar, to USD, right? But then currencies are usually relative to other currencies, right? That's how we're talking about fiat, usually say US dollar when it goes up or down. They're not talking about it compared to Bitcoin. They're talking about it compared to other currencies, whether it be the euro or the yen or whatever the case may be, the pound. So in that respect, the BRICS thing was a little interesting. I read the article about it. And if they're trying to come up with some sort of a universal unit of measurement, not necessarily a currency, and they're kind of using that to measure the price of commodities, or so they say. Now, my take on it is that, and of all the videos and things I've read specifically about the United States current US dollar specifically, it's very hard to unravel basically the stronghold that the United States dollar has on the global market, whether it be with oil, or whether it be, because there's such a thing as what they call the petrodollar. Because oil is settled in US dollars, then if that were to be undone, that might be the beginning of a change, right? A tectonic plate shift. However, it's easier said than done. And I think that the article today that is specifically talking about that, some sort of unit of measurement for BRICS, which is not necessarily the yen and not necessarily any of the other money, is almost kind of like we see they're still trying to figure it out as well. Right, they don't have an easy answer for it either, because who's going to be the one? Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got to agree. Easier said than done. You got to agree it, and then you got to actually change everybody's business flow. So it remains to be seen. As of now, I don't see the dollar, not being the world's reserve currency anytime soon. I just don't.
You're smart, man, dude. I remember when I first had you on the channel. Like, don't be deceived by the rap lyrics, which actually are pretty intelligent, but well spoken. Well learned. you can kind of see the writing on the wall behind the scenes. Yeah, you don't, because everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin's going up, dollars going down. It's just not that easy. Like, it just doesn't happen that fast, and they could actually coexist together in a bullish world, right? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin can be $100,000 a coin, and the dollar is still the world's reserve currency. I mean, clearly, like that's why I say it's kind of different to compare it to crypto as opposed to the other fiats. I mean, that's totally different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, I mean, again, we know they're going to keep printing, so that's why we believe Bitcoin will go up in value. But that doesn't mean that more people. Now, the thing is, they keep printing money, more people can hold a dollar in the world at one time too. So it creates that, availability, right? And there's still a lot of unbanked countries that we're still bringing the dollar to. You know what I mean? And
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And the thing is, that's also why there's kind of cycles as well, right? I mean, things get ahead of themselves, print a bunch of money, then maybe things pull back. But like, it's inevitable. We already know there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So like, time's on our side. I don't remember who first said this, but like, Bitcoin's going to zero or it's going to 1 million and higher. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you believe that Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going up long term.
It's going. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's funny when you see people, they're like, they try to wrap their head around it, and you just look at them and you're like, just buy some Bitcoin. Hold on to it, man. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? You don't have to understand it. Just know that we understand. No, it's like.
And for the record, Crypto Lifer has been right. If anybody saw my content from Bitcoin Miami when I interviewed you, and I said, "What's coming first, 20,000 or 30,000?" You looked at me, you said, "I don't think Bitcoin's ever going to 20,000 again."
we did go to 30K after that, right? Isn't that what we did? Yeah, we did.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it touched 30 first. We've obviously pulled back, but we ain't touched 20 yet. We haven't really even been that close to 20 relative to where we are. So
they tried to get 25 today, and it like just shot all the way up to 25.9 in like a half a second. It was out of. That's the main reason I was half late today, because I was like, the chart was out of control. I was like, what is going on? So this is actually something I really wanted to talk to you about. Even if we didn't have the show, if I saw you recently and we bumped into each other, this would have come up in our general discussion. That's what we don't realize too. This is what we talk about generally. Like, we don't have to script this stuff. Like, we're so into this that when we meet, when we're at dinner, the ETF, man, I'm so excited, right? Like, now Grayscale is about to get it. Then they say no, but then they say, hey, the SEC, you can't just say no. Like, basically what they said to the SEC was, you picked and choose where you said that we can't make an ETF. Basically, like, you just came out of nowhere and just said, no. But in another situation, you let it fly before. So like, you can't pick and choose wherever you want, right? They're saying you have false reasons why you're saying you won't approve our ETF. Do you think it's coming in October, like everyone says? Do we have to wait till 2024 with the anticipation of the halving? How does it make you feel? It gets me pretty excited.
It does get me excited. And I talked to somebody about it on the phone last night as well as this morning.
No, you did. No, you did.
Yeah. No, I did. I talked to, and these are not people who are even in crypto as much as us. Like, I was like, look, there's multiple things coming. You mentioned the halving, obviously the potential for at least one of the ETFs. I just saw right before we came on some news that Cathie Wood put in a request for an Ethereum ETF. Now, we have a future Bitcoins ETF, which is kind of what you're referring to. Like, how come you allow these things over here, but now we want to spot Bitcoin ETF? How come not? And I want to give a little bit of history to the viewers. Part of the thing that was pushing the bull run for Bitcoin in the second half of 2021 was the anticipation that we might get a spot Bitcoin ETF. So the fact that we've got more anticipation now than even back then with Larry Fink and BlackRock as well, Grayscale and everybody else, and Bitcoin's in the 20s right now. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, but like, you might want to start DCAing a little bit if you believe in it longer term, because I believe that eventually it's going to come. Will it come in October? I don't know. But I do know that there's a lot of very important and powerful people pushing for a Bitcoin ETF. And we should talk about this real quick. The reason why it's so important or why we're so bullish about a Bitcoin ETF is because BlackRock and, Vanguard and these people, they got a lot of salesmen. Like, this is the specific reason why. And because of spot Bitcoin ETF, they have to actually, just so people know, you have to actually own Bitcoin, like the actual commodity of Bitcoin. That's why it's more valuable than a futures ETF. But they're going to go out to all of their clients. When I say their clients, I'm talking like pensions and stuff. You know what I mean? Like big money centers, and have to sell them on why whatever percentage of their portfolio should be allocated to the spot Bitcoin ETF. And these are very persuasive money managers. So it makes it so that hopefully over the long term, Bitcoin just becomes a normal flow of inflow of pension funds, just like Apple stock would be. So that is why it makes us more bullish long term. Why we want to get in is get our bags positioned before it gets approved.
You know, right before this, I'm sitting there, I was looking at the charts, and I bought $2,000 more Bitcoin. And I said, I did right before the show. I said, if it goes to 19, I said, I have enough dry powder to get in. And I said, you know what? I said, I think I should buy 2,500 today, 2,500 in the next couple. I said, I should put $5 more grand in the next couple of days. I get in you're not supposed to trade on feelings. I look at all the charts, there could be some downside. I really firmly believe we will never go to that 15.8 low again. Again, I could be wrong, but I believe there's a 90% chance. And I base it on data, 30 different assets throughout the world that have 20-year, 30-year cycles. And you only see weekly bullish divergence once every 8 years. Like, it's like seeing a white owl, you know what I mean? Like an Arctic, like an endangered species. Like it's rare. So it's funny because everyone always feels there's like so much opinion from it. And then you're like, look at my channel, look what I said. And I'm trying to get clout. So it gets jaded, right? When you come out with an idea, because no one knows where you're coming from, right? Is he trying to get views? Is he trying to do clickbait? And I try to tell people, listen, I just try to show you, hey, listen, you could go through the same 30 charts that I did. You'll see the same once every 7 years. You'll see you'll see bullish divergence on the weekly, and you will see that does create a bottom for a macro market. So, hey, you take it for what it is, but that's what it's not even me saying it. It's what the data is saying. I'm just uncovering the data. I just spent a lot more time just kind of flipping through the chart, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and this is one thing I wanted to call out while I was on the air with you. For those who watch Crypto Lifer, we know that you are authentic, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's not just a trader, you know what I mean? He's an inspirator. He's an educator, you know what I mean? He's one of those guys who's always going to give it to you real. And that's what I think comes through what you exude through your channel. You know what I mean? You're a motivator, an instigator. You're a guy who's never going to be a hater. You always spread love. And that's what I love about Crypto Life.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. No, it's, I gravitate towards people that have good energy, right? And I was saying today, when you talk bad about someone, you feel somewhat negatively in yourself, even if you don't. Like, you're bringing negativity in, and every time you use more hate than love, you're attracting a vibrational energy. So I always tell everyone, like, focus on the love, focus on the energy. And then the more you do that, the more you can like see those type of people. And I bring it up because I just saw you when I first met you, and I see this vibrant guy running around, kind of tall, chill, doing your thing. And you were just, I don't know, man, there was something non-pretentious, really laid back, really humble about you. And then I rap too. Like before I met you, I was like, oh, I can vicariously live through this guy now that I've like suited up, So like, it was just.
For those who don't know, Crypto Lifer got bars. Let's keep it a buck right here, man. Oh man, you got somewhere I posted that not too long ago after Miami. It was on your birthday, I think it was. Yeah. Or it was a special occasion. I can't remember what day it was, but I was like, was it Father's Day?
I think you let it out on Father's Day or something like that.
Yeah, because I was like, because your father had recently passed away, and so I was like, this is a Crypto Lifer got his bars, his inspirational bars, man. We're going to try to be in good spirits today in remembrance of your dad and how big of an influence he was on you. And so I think people appreciate your realness when you speak about such things.
No, that's another thing about it was when Miami came. My dad dies May 2nd or May 1st, but May 2nd at 1 a.m, and then you're left with this, just like, you leave the hospital with your mom and your sisters, and you're just like, it's this empty feeling. Like, how do you piece my mom goes, everyone's going to go to bed that night. You're like, who's going to sleep? Like, it was just, and then 2 weeks later, I'm in Miami, just, like kind of just like, what happened? And it was so nice to be around that many crypto influencers who knew me, people coming up to me, I'm really sorry about your dad, people cheering me up. And honestly, I'll remember those 4 or 5 days for the rest of my life, man, because like I felt like I was around a bunch of people I've never met, but I'd never felt like I was in such a family, you know what I mean? And I just appreciate you bringing that up, and didn't think we'd bring it up today on the stream, but that's another thing. We like to keep it real here, like you're saying. So if it comes up, it comes up. One thing that's came up today, but usually is going down, but and it has me somewhat concerned because we know that all economies are connected. Right. We're too basically connected everywhere. China, Japan, Russia, like even when they put sanctions on Russia, you're like, all of the copper comes out of Russia, all the metal, like, so you're like, oh, you can sanction them all you want, but like somehow we're going to have to get those resources eventually throughout the, so Evergrande going down, right? One of the biggest real estate companies, or the biggest real estate company in China. Their economy looks pretty shaky right now. Things aren't going too well. They had a pump today, which made some news and a short squeeze. What's your take on that? Do you think that could be I'm trying to think of the word, a gangrene, so to speak, to kind of grow from the leg up into the thigh? Like, could we see pain headed into the U.S. economy? Could that affect Bitcoin? And, I haven't asked you that question, or many people actually recently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I definitely believe like the macro environment affects things for sure. Specifically Evergrande, I don't know if that one would. Like, for example, like the markets, I have to stress this, like the markets aren't exactly the economy. And I know there's relation to it and stuff like that, but markets usually discounting mechanisms that look forward 6 months to a year or something like that. So there's always a certain level of speculation in a market versus what's like happening on the ground in a real world economy. The Chinese economy is definitely interwoven with the United States economy, right? We get so many goods and products from China that the other world, we're the top 2 biggest superpowers in the world. Like, we're inevitably going to be intertwined with all kinds of complicated, complex issues. Specifically, the real estate market, which is what this has to do with. And then specifically like the short squeeze. Well, the short squeeze was, I won't say inevitable, but that's kind of more of a market game, right? Definitely. When something starts falling, it's because the hedge funds or whomever are kind of pushing in to short it, which drives it down even more. But then it leaves them more susceptible to a short squeeze. For those who don't know much about how short squeezes work, look that up. But basically, that's probably going to be a short-term thing because that's why it's a squeeze and temporary. It comes back down. It wasn't like they were investing in it. It's more of a trader's game. Yeah. So I mean, as a trader, I made money off short squeezes plenty of times. I've had some good ones in my day. But as a trader, you got to know that's what it is, right? You're not thinking like, oh, it's coming back now.
That's not a long-term hold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trader's game. You'll see it's why, because people are closing out their positions that were short, so that way they have to buy it, which makes it go up in a squeeze. So anyways, that will that short squeeze have any effect on the economy? No, that's a trader's game. Will the Chinese economy and how it has to do with their real estate market, how much leverage have they been, using basically to prop up this market? Yeah, that could have a larger ripple effect on the United States economy and currencies and price of assets as well. And it's a little harder to say that this one thing will affect this outcome because it's certainly part of a larger picture and narrative of things that are happening.
One thing is, I remember I was in New York for 20 years, that they were buying up buildings in New York City. I think they bought the Chrysler building. They started buying some iconic New York City skyline buildings. I'm wondering if maybe they won't be able to do that as much as their economy,
right.
Distribute, it's definitely something I'm not, exactly. It's like a question that's so open mind, like it's so open. It's there. We definitely could see a push through, but like, is the New York real estate market going to collapse because Evergrande? Probably not. Right. I mean, it's
right.
Right. So we are America. We have some strong economies that kind of go through recessions. Like, I lived in New York in 2008. And I remember, and that was one of my first jobs. I did get laid off from my job because I was a new hiree and they had to cut budgets. And I remember the lady, we love you, work so good, but we got to let you go. And I'm 25, walking out of the office, and I'm walking by. I remember Nick and Steph's in 34th Street, Del Monte, all these fancy steakhouses in there. I saw hundreds of rich people just putting in those $175 steaks. So my point was, like, the small person felt the effects, but New York City kept bustling on. The rich just kept getting richer. Like, it did, you know what I mean?
Listen, I say it all the time. We are pretty lucky to be in the United States of America, right? Like, we do still have the world's strongest economy. Like, and I was thinking about this the other day too. Like, obviously a lot of people feel the effects of inflation in the United States, but it's still like can be worse other places, right? So, I mean, listen, everything is circumstantial. You're probably a believer in same as me. It's like you kind of got to make your own way in this world. I'm never going to sit around and wait for, a politician to come save me or, whatever, some sort of law to come and fix everything. That ain't how it works, right? You got to be out there, assertive, and make sure that you're proactive for your own life. That's just kind of how it works no matter what circumstance you're in. But we want to know what's happening so we can move accordingly. That's why we're discussing this right now.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like, I know I got to create my own opportunity no matter what, but I still want to know if they're, if the if we're going to storm the beach or not,
No, it's need to know information, right? So, and that's why we got to pay attention. I mean, listen, I don't even watch regular TV anymore and shit. You know what I mean? I get entertained by gaining information. You know what I mean? So I watch people like you, whether it doesn't matter if it's Twitter or YouTube or whatever the case may be, Instagram, like I want to learn something every day. For me personally, I'm done with the passiveness. I don't even watch sports that much anymore. And I'm from Oakland. I'm like the biggest Warriors fan in the world. We done won all the championships and everything. I'm fucking burnt out, man. At the end of the day, the Warriors didn't pay me, but I love the Warriors. I was in the parade. But like at the end of the day, I gotta focus on what I can build, and the way I personally choose to do it is I want to build something by providing value for others. Like that's my preference on how I want to come up in this world. So it's just one of those things that you got to get the information, know what the hell is going on. Because I remember what it was like when I wasn't paying attention and I missed out. I feel like I missed out 20 years of my life where I should have been investing, or I should have been trading, or I should have been knowing better what was going on so I could make moves accordingly instead of just passing the time.
Well, you said two things that really inspire me. Number one, big up to America. Too many people hating. We got a great country here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we got such a beautiful group of people, Black, white, Spanish, Asian, like Chinese. We got people from all walks of life in America, man. Like, and I think that's what makes us so strong, because we're not one culture. We have the thought process of multi-cultures. We are able to we're able to combine each other's thoughts and ideas together. And
I
that's
agree.
probably the main reason why we were the most innovative in the first place. So we got to get back to what. Secondly, you said, you know, people, you inspired me because you're saying people get nervous when they mess up, or, you know, I invested or you didn't know about investing before. I have traders that join my trading group and then they lose their first couple of trades, or they lose a trade or they miss a trade. Sometimes they wanted to get in and they don't get in. And I said, 2 months ago, you were just punching the card at work. You didn't even know trading existed. So like I tell everyone, you're in the minor leagues, you're hitting home runs, you're doing good. They bring you up to the majors. What's the first thing that happens? You're probably going to strike out, right? So you go depressed home that night. I struck out. And your buddy says, you struck out in the majors. Like you're not in the minor leagues anymore. So I tell everyone, you're going to hit some roadblocks on your level, you know, your first level of investing. But remember, those roadblocks are actually gifts, because you weren't even hitting roadblocks before because you didn't even know about investing. You know what I mean?
You weren't in the majors before. Exactly.
Yeah. So like, give yourself some credit that you actually are heading into a new realm. Like anytime you push into something new and you progress into a new field, you make yourself uncomfortable. And every time you make yourself uncomfortable, you grow. And every time you grow, you progress, right? So like, I'm looking for the next uncomfortable moment. You know what I mean? I want to keep finding myself in these uncomfortable places so I can push forward to find the new me, you know? You inspire me, man. Every time talk, every time you come on. No, you do. You have great thoughts, and your thoughts always infuse with mine, and it gives me something great to say. So I love having you on the channel. I want to keep you coming back every couple of months. I want to make sure our relationship is strong. And I'm serious, man. I'm going to be in the crowd or at that party or maybe on stage when you get that Grammy, man, because it's coming.
I appreciate it, man. And just so you guys know, I mean, I'm out here in the Bay Area. I'm tapping into a lot of the AI community. I'm going to be learning more about that kind of stuff. You know, I may not be posting as much content specifically about crypto. Obviously, you know, it's like very time consuming and whatnot, but it's because my head's in the books. You know what I mean? I'm going to be studying and learning everything cutting edge tech. For those who don't know, I have a show called Upgraded with Cassius Cuvée, where I interview founders and CEOs of Web3 projects, but more just broader technology. Again, I'm in the Bay Area, so I have the ability to meet founders and VCs kind of more regularly than some other folks and showcase them. But I really want to learn more about AI and just any cutting edge tech. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing for the next few months.
Well, I like that you said that, because being the crypto lifer too, I get so focused in crypto, and there are some new tech that aren't crypto, right? That, you know, so it's like, we have to remember there's still other companies out there that are going to change the world, bring innovative technology that aren't cryptocurrencies. So
but
I'm going to
crypto,
man, for that extra alpha, man, you know,
crypto's still the currency of the internet though. And I think a lot of different ways, we don't necessarily know it yet, but crypto of some type is going to be interwoven more and more and more with any future tech. So we're in the right place to kind of see both of them. You know, it may not be the exact same moment, but like stuff's weaving back. I'm telling you right now, a little bit out. Because one of the VCs I know, he's like, man, Web3 is coming back. Web3 is coming back. And I listen when the VCs talk, because they're the ones who like make trends.
Well, I love what you just said. Well, the first thing they do is they see, okay, we got to start working on this. Then they're hiring, right, a new program.
They spend the money.
Yeah. Next thing you know, their competitor hires, and then they're at a business meeting and they're like, nobody knows yet. It hasn't hit Wired magazine. The stocks haven't gone up. No one's, but the companies are beginning to build, right? And when they develop those products, what's going to happen? So they can see the boiling of the water for sure.
Yeah, and he told me, this is what he told me. He's like, look, Web3 is boring. This is almost right after he got back from Bitcoin Miami. He's like, Web3 is boring right now because they're building rebar and on-ramps and stuff like that. Nobody's like, they're not really tripping off that right now, especially now you got some other shiny new object called AI, right? So a lot of the money was like, you know, without thinking, was getting thrown into AI the way it was Web3. But he's like, but once those on-ramps are built, once all that stuff is going, you know what I mean? It's going to reconnect. and AI is going to help them build it faster. And, you know, it's just kind of a matter of time. This is new technology. It's like when the internet was being built in the 90s or whatever, it wasn't like, oh, this thing, the dot-com bubble happened and this internet died. You know, it didn't just go away. You know what I'm saying?
And what I also realized, it hit me the other day, I was walking down the street, because everyone says, oh, I can't make money in these new technologies, I'm not that smart. And, you know, everyone has a different level and a different tasks inside of the growth of an evolutionary market. Meaning, when the internet first came out, or when the internet boom came out, yeah, you had the really smart guys who knew how to build a website early. Then they started building websites for other people. But then you had the guy that just knew websites were cool. And he just went around to businesses and says, you need a new website. And then he just hired the guy that knew how to build the websites. And he got himself a piece of the pie, you know? So like, you don't have to be the smartest. You just, you know, grab yourself a company, put the word crypto on it. Don't be fake, you know, put yourself in there. But if you're part of this movement, there's going to be a place for you, because there's going to be so many people that don't know what you know, and you can sell that information to them on any level you're at, you know?
Yeah.
So depending
get in where you fit in is what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like it's such a broad, what does it mean? It's like saying, I invested in the internet, right? Like there's so many things that you can do that works for you. Not everybody's meant to be a day trader, for example. Not everybody is meant to be a dev or start an NFT project or whatever, right? But you know, maybe you're a promoter, maybe you're like me, who makes art and entertainment, you know, so do what behooves you to do in a emerging market, if you will, in a flourishing industry. That's all I can really do, is everybody got to find their own way in that respect.
Yo, thank you so much for coming on, man. I'm going to let you go on your day. I really appreciate your time, and we'll have you back on again in the next few months. And I'm sure I'm going to see you again at an event somewhere around. I'll be bouncing around. I'll be in Florida soon. And, you know, who knows, there's always something going on, but, Central Miami, you're probably going to go to. I'm probably going to go to that too. That's not that far from now. That's where we met. It seems like
Art Basel, yeah, man.
Dude, a year went by like that. That's so weird, man. And like,
it did go by fast, yeah. But great to be on, man. I appreciate you having me. Crypto Lifer, the one and only.
God bless you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.